Hello everyone, it is Redmen Radio, the 74th edition. We're going to talk about Liverpool's imaginary rivalry with Tottenham a bit later on. We're going to kick off question.
It's real though, isn't it?
Only in the heads of Tottenham fans and people on Twitter, but we'll get to that. Let's not get lost. Gerald at J Kalai on Twitter said, "Who's the Liverpool player most likely to rob a bank?" Mr. Chris Page.
I've just seen this question for the first time. I'm gonna say Adam Lallana.
Why?
Because he's the one that you would expect least
Is
to
he?
rob the bank. I think so. Maybe.
Yeah.
I've just come up with this stuff.
James Milner's probably fairly unlikely. I think all the English lads have come across as a bit. Maybe they're right. Maybe it'd be like a trick. Maybe like at the start of the Dark Knight, and they've all got Joker masks
I see
on.
Adam Lallana as like more Point Blank. Is that the film? You know what I mean? Where he's just a nice guy. He's just a bit of
Gross Point Blank.
Is it Gross Point Blank where they all wear the masks and the surfer dudes and all
Oh
that?
no, sorry, Point Break.
Point Break. I see him more as maybe the Point Break kind of guy. He's just a cool dude who's just chilling out on Bournemouth Beach, doing a little bit of surfing.
Checking the lappies out.
Yeah, exactly, checking the lappies out. And you just do not expect him to be the mastermind of this bank robbing syndicate.
Okay, sounds that sounds a reasonable explanation. I think we could have done that for anyone if we'd done that. To be fair,
but you didn't have the Bournemouth links with anyone else, did you?
True enough.
Did you notice me sort of freewheeling as I was going along a little bit there?
No, not at all. I thought that was
came across like a plan, that one.
Perfectly well constructed. I think Albi Moreno's got a bit of it about him.
He's always the answer to all of these questions.
Because he's just a bit mad, isn't he? I think he's got a bit of a 60s Batman villain about him. You know what I mean? Like I don't think he'd work in this modern gritty world that we live in and all this kind of stuff. But I think he could be a bit of an off the wall type.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he'd be successful. Probably very unsuccessful, to be perfectly honest. But
if
probably
you watch like Ocean's 11 or Ocean's 12, whichever one it is, where the little Chinese guy like jumps and leaps around and stuff, he's like perfect for that type of stuff.
Because he's dead small.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be bang up for that. He does strike me as the kind of person who would get his shoelaces stuck in the vent and get caught.
Also.
Sad. Okay, we're going to talk through the news in a minute. We're going to talk about the Tottenham Hotspur game looming on the horizon, and we're going to take a load of your questions as well. Before we get into the news, just want to tell everyone we got to 100,000 on Instagram. You know how? Did you notice there how I went 100,000? Is it likes? Is it followers? I really don't know. 100,000 of the thing that it's measured by how many people get involved with your account. Can take minimal credit for it. Well, I started it, but it was defo Ross that's done a lot of the hard work on there. If you're not involved, just the Redmen TV on Instagram, some boss stuff on there. Ross is a very funny guy, I've noticed over the last year.
Not in person though.
No, really. Like most funny people online, he's far funnier online than he is he's funnier looking in person.
True.
Sorry, Ross. Probably going to be a long time to get us to 200,000 if we don't have Ross anymore. But yeah, no, if you're not involved on our Instagram, do get involved with some cool stuff on there. News in brief then. The FIFA Pro World 11 nominees have been announced. Chris, Virgil van Dijk, Dejan Lovren, Sadio Mane and Mo Salah in there. No great surprise there other than, maybe Dejan Lovren?
No, not really. I think, when you're a quality centre-back like him and you've got to the final of the Champions League and the final of the World Cup, the surprise really is that Andrew Robertson's not been put forward, to be honest.
Maybe he's just not fashionable or Brazilian enough for him to be in the running of things. No, I
wonder when the last time Scotland's captain actually made one of these things.
No, that's a very interesting shout. I'm glad in this regard. I had no shock to see Mo Salah up there, and I think he's almost a shoe-in to make the World 11. To be honest, someone asked the question, and I'll ask this to you when I was doing the news show earlier today. Can we rate Virgil van Dijk as the best defender in the world if he hasn't won a major trophy?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I think it's just a matter of time that he wins a major trophy. But I rate Pochettino as one of the best coaches in football. Now he's not won a major trophy.
But could he be the best coach if he doesn't win something?
Maybe not. But there's more factors, isn't it? It's not just Virgil van Dijk. He's part of a team, whereas Pochettino manages said team. So therefore, I think the parameters are slightly different.
Yeah, definitely. The stuff that I was thinking about this in that. because of the fact that it's a team sport. Because I made the distinction that if you, it's like saying you can't become the best player in the world because you're from a country that can't win the World Cup. Now, you can move to a team that doesn't. I think that's what's happened. A lot of this gets lent to. It's almost like Barcelona, Real Madrid propaganda, this best player in the world thing, because I'm probably skewed by the fact that they've happened to have the two best players, in the world for the last decade or so. If this was like an Olympic event, more or less, or across the board for Olympic events, you can prove that you're the best in the world based on your technical abilities. Virgil van Dijk can't prove himself the best centre-back in the world whilst we have the parameters of silverware, but him being the best centre-half in the world, he can be the best tackler, the fastest, the best header, all of the things that make you a world-class defender. He could be the best in every one of those metrics, but for loads of people out there, they would not accept him as it because Sergio Ramos exists and he wins 3 consecutive or 4 in 3 years of Champions Leagues and wins La Liga titles on alternative years, and that's why it's always going to be difficult for someone like Van Dijk until Liverpool start to win.
Yeah, of course, and Sergio Ramos playing on the Liverpool side might not win trophies. It is a team sport. That's what it comes down to first and foremost, isn't it? Now, for me, he's certainly the best centre-half I've seen in the last maybe 8 or 9 years at Liverpool Football Club, quite easily. We watch a lot of European football. You can compare him to other centre-halves in the league that we see all of them. Yep. There's no one on his level. Now, I don't watch Sergio Ramos every single week, so actually for me to make a claim of him as the best player in the world in his position is a bit stupid anyway, because I haven't seen them all. Yeah. There might be someone playing in Sunday League that might be better. It's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely.
I mean, we obviously we watch predominantly Liverpool. I think everyone who's involved in this podcast, listening or watching, that's where it is. There's only so many hours in the day, of course, but you do watch the teams that you come up against, and I think it's fair to say, and what's great is it's actually backed up by Pro Evo this year, is Liverpool's spine are rated by a computer game, and it's daft to say because I think people get lost in this sometimes, but you can tell when you've got very good players when the metrics, again, judged by the people whose jobs it is to rate these kind of people, do it quite well. Although there was uproar apparently that Salah's not in the top 10 in FIFA, but that's because FIFA shit. There you go. There's a can of worms for your comments. Enjoy that. Yeah, great. But like I say, it'd be great to see them all in there. Funnily enough, I think based on if you based it on the Champions League final, Mane and how they started the season, Mane probably deserves the shout, but I don't think you can argue Mo Salah's last 12 months have been sensational. And as you say, Dejan Lovren, I don't think he's as good a defender as Virgil van Dijk. I don't think he's as good a footballer, but not only did he make the Champions League final, as you say, he made the World Cup final as well, and be interesting.
And the thing is, it's not about who's the best player; it's who's had the best season. You know what I mean? Now, over the course of their career, Van Dijk will probably prove to be a much better than Lovren, but Lovren's had an outstanding season.
Well, it is a bit of both, to be fair, because it's voted by your peers, and what it probably is, it's more, it's maybe not necessarily based on your season exclusively, because think about it, when you're like, name some players, you and I would automatically throw a bunch of names in there because I've heard of them. So there might be a degree to which this is, like Andy Robertson not getting nominations, because, let's be honest, if someone asks you for a vote for a left-back, you say Marcelo, aren't you? More often than not, etc., etc. But I like I say, I hope that the Liverpool's run to the Champions League might have and the World Cup in Lovren instances might have a strong impact on this. We've seen, Chris, that the Chelsea League Cup game has finally been scheduled. It's Wednesday the 26th. The only real note around this is that we're playing them. We know we're playing them back to back, League Cup then League. We're still playing them at 5:30 on the Saturday, which makes it a slightly more compacted schedule than it would have been if the game had been obviously on the Tuesday.
Yeah, I think Klopp would prefer it to be a nighttime game followed by a nighttime game, rather than, let's say, a 7 o'clock, 7:30, 7:45 kickoff, whatever it is, followed by a 1 o'clock on the Sunday game. Yeah, okay. So actually, I think Klopp will be quite pleased with that, because I know he likes to continue the training at the same time as the games. It's not as much of a shift. So actually, I think it's probably a good thing for us.
That's really interesting. Cool. One really funny story that came out this week was Djibril Cissé decided to...
Not this week. it re-emerged this week. This has been poo-pooed for ages.
So Djibril Cissé came out and spoke about his Steven Gerrard's speech at halftime in the Champions League final and said, "I will never forget Steven Gerrard's talk at the halftime final of the Champions League. Benitez comes to the dressing room. He does his coach. I love how he just completely dismisses Rafa Benitez's impact on this. He just does his coach speech that we must not give up and that we need to score quickly. Stephen gets up and asks all the coaching staff to leave the dressing room because he wanted to be alone with just the players. All the staff left, even the physios who were giving treatment to the players. Again, that seems unlikely, but let's carry on. Stevie gets up and says that Liverpool is all he has. It is his club. All he has ever known. And he does not want to be the laughing stock of the history of the Champions League. He says that if we respect him and love him as a captain, then we need to dust ourselves off and get back in the match. He scores the first goal and gets the penalty. He has an extraordinary second half, finished the game as a right back. He has a crazy match, but that halftime speech will remain forever imprinted in my mind." Jamie Carragher, however, denies that this happened and basically says it may have happened, but only if he was one of the staff that left the room at the time.
Yeah, I'm not denying that it happened in Djibril's head, but I am going to say that it didn't happen in real life.
This is like...
I mean, it would have been a great story, and here's the thing, I would have expected Djibril to put himself at the heart of it.
Yeah.
I
rallied everyone around and said, "Stevie, deliver the speech."
He's probably tried that once or twice, and he gone, "No, Djibril, this isn't believable, mate." And he's gone, "Steven Gerrard. It was Steven Gerrard, not me."
I wonder if this is one of those things where an anecdote gets out of control. You know, like, maybe it was just like Steven Gerrard just gave everyone a pat on the shoulder, or maybe he said, like, "Yeah, come on, lads." And then he realised that people were well more interested in the Gerrard part of his story than the Rafa one. So he's just started to embellish upon it and more to the point where it's just become this absolute beast that's completely out of control.
To be fair, he didn't give much for the Rafa story.
Yeah, I know. Like, well, that's what I mean. He's clearly just gone, "I don't give a f- Rafa's told this story, but this..." So I've been re-listening to, for about the fifth time, the Alan Partridge, audio book, and it's got a lot of this, and it says like, and my father says, "I've been to war and I'd seen a person's head blown off. His bite of egg seemed to suggest," and it just gets like he's just seen Gerrard looking stoically off into the distance, and he's just imagined what Gerrard's thinking and how he would be delivering this speech in his head for added dramatisation. Anyway, Jamie Carragher's called bullshit, but it was a wonderful story nevertheless. Looking ahead then, because obviously we know internationals are ongoing at the moment. Yeah. Good to see Gini Wijnaldum.
I've been told, to be fair.
Yeah, I know, I've watched nothing of them, to be fair. But what we have seen, a few of the players have had their 2 games already. They're done and dusted, and they're going to be on the way back. Gini Wijnaldum, Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane should be back, having played the games before the weekend, which is great. There's still a number to go, including, obviously, England. Yeah, but the Brazilians is the big pressure around there. We've had this a number of times. It's better when you've got Man City after that, because they have a similar sort of situation. Look, it's not ideal, and we're going to have this time and time again with Roberto Firmino. We're probably going to wrap it up in cotton wool and blah blah blah. It's simply put, Spurs is not the team. Spurs away from home is not the team I really want to face, knowing that our goalkeeper and our linchpin centre forward haven't been in training with us this week.
That's it. Like, and listen, Firmino's obviously more important than Alisson in this regard because of the positions that they play. Can we just go back to a world where everyone thinks Gabriel Jesus is better than Firmino, and maybe Firmino drops out of the squad this time instead of him getting starts?
Yeah. Well, and even the fact like Fabinho went
to play right back.
To play right back. Great. Thank you, Tite.
What I don't get about this is Brazil had the World Cup squad. He didn't make the World Cup squad. He hasn't played a professional game of football. He has got back into the Brazil squad. How has this happened?
Yeah, just shits and giggles.
Well, I mean, has the Brazil coach been down to Liverpool training to see how he's getting on?
He must have been pre-season.
I mean, what's that about?
He looked, I really liked the way that he just played slightly too deep and too slow for Liverpool's system in pre-season. Really won me over that.
Perfect.
Get him back
That's
at right
the
back.
Dunga role.
Yeah,
sound.
Get him back at right back. Yeah, fine. Yeah, it's a shame. It's an annoyance. I think the problem with all this is that it's like ticking them back in through the door. It's like doing a head count, going through, going, sound. sound, you're fine. Anything to know, no, you're fine. Get yourselves in there. Get yourselves into Melwood, lads. And it just means there's just a few more days of just crossing fingers and toes. You were a guest on the Anfield Raps Weekender podcast this week, and I think it might have been on that podcast was mentioned, like the Joe Gomez. Just Joe Gomez, he's the one. If there was one man who it's written in the stars that he would come back injured, having had such a promising start.
That's exactly what Neil was saying. Like, he's like, I can see it, I can visualise him, and he's laying awake at night hoping that Joe Gomez doesn't get injured. And I think we all are. We're so impressed with what Joe Gomez has brought to the table this season already, and to think he's had less than 10 games at centre half, and he's looking like a genuine peer of Virgil van Dijk. Yeah. You know what I mean? He doesn't look out of place in any way, shape, or form. And you're talking about one of the lads who's been nominated for this FIFA Pro World 11. He's keeping out of the side. Yeah, it's amazing.
And the self-proclaimed one of the best defenders in the world as well. That's a heavy burden to bear. That's the thing about Gomez. I think I'm so bored of the story of Liverpool players being they get their opportunity, and you go, oh, this is our chance to see them, and then they just get unlucky. I've had enough of that story. I want the story to be, because we haven't had enough of these stories, is lad waits patiently, comes through it, all these injury problems, gets his opportunity, and proves that he's got the ability to deliver. Because this is the thing, if he gets injured, I mean, look, I don't know what condition Lovren is in. We don't know how far away he is from being, truly in contention or whatever. But Matip's there and fit and knocking on the door. We know Klopp's got no problem putting Matip into games. This is such a big opportunity that if Gomez were to get injured and he were to miss 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he just might not get back into the team.
Well, he might not, but I do think that he would. And I think one of the reasons for that is that, we split game time quite evenly between Matip and Lovren last season, didn't we? And it was almost a horses for courses type of a thing. And it certainly felt like that watching it from the outside. And you look at it and you think, Lovren's the aggressive fella. You get in there when you want him to defend, and Matip's the guy who can pass a ball, and he can hit your centre forward and take five guys out of the game. And yet, wouldn't it be great if we had a centre-half who could do both? Yeah. And lo and behold, we have, and his name's Joe Gomez, and he's kind of proven that. It's like, it's great. Listen, I didn't mind at the time us switching between Lovren and Matt, because the performance levels from both of them was good enough. Yeah. But my word, how many times we sat here over the years talking to your dad, talking to you, talking to anybody who'll sit and talk football with us, and said, wouldn't it be great if we just had a partnership at centre-half that could play every single game? Yeah. Because they're both right for this team. Yeah. And we've got that, and there's certainly the shoots of that partnership developing. Yeah. The lad's got everything, and it's his ability to read danger for me. Every single time I watch him, I'm like, the lad just gets it, and he's got the skills to back it up. Yeah,
and at that time, a fullback's done him no harm whatsoever as well, because I remember you having some fears about him and Trent playing in the same back four at the start of the season. And look, there will come time. They're both young lads. They will make mistakes, and we'll have to deal with it, and they'll have to deal with it and learn from it. However, it does look like Joe Gomez. I mean, the fact that Joe Gomez is getting moved back to right back in games when we're shutting them down as well. You just know having that knowledge and having known what the expectations are from the guy playing alongside him. That's part and parcel of us creating this tight back four unit.
I absolutely. And listen, that time at right back, as you said, then is going to have done him the world of good. But equally, I look at it and I think there are still games where I'd probably play him at right back. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that Trent's doing a bad job in any way, shape or form, but if
it is probably to say that Klein's doing a bad job though.
Well, listen, I don't know what Klein we've got anymore. I genuinely don't. You can't base it off pre-season games. I thought Fabinho was all right in pre-season. I wouldn't have said he was a £50 million player, but I know that Klopp won't have made a mistake on him as well. For me, Joe Gomez is a huge asset for Liverpool Football Club right now, and if you can pick up your centre-back partnership in today's day and age for around about 78.5 million, I think you've done all right. Yeah. And that's exactly what we might have done. Absolutely. We might have picked our back four up for 86 million. We might have picked our back five up for about 150. Yeah. Ask Man City if you think that's a good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bloody good deal.
It's a bloody good deal.
Yeah. Moreover, when they have to inevitably properly replace Vincent Kompany, and then all of a sudden we're going to look like a total bargain. Yeah, bro. And let's talk more about Spurs then, Chris. Look, without a doubt, the first proper test of the season, we've passed it so far. I wouldn't say we've passed the first 4 games with flying colours in any way, shape or form, but there is that the one lingering. It's not a criticism. It's a fine act of mingebaggery that's coming from people around this. We've got 12 points from 12, but compared to last season and the teams that we face, we've not gained any points on last season. We're only beating the teams that we managed to beat last year. This is very much, we're returning to the seed of Dejan Lovren's crime. This is a real opportunity to find out where this squad and this team's at.
Yes, this weekend. No, for where the season is. I think you can get beaten by Tottenham. Anybody can be beaten by Tottenham. I think they can beat Manchester City. Yeah. They whooped Manchester United. Where we are right now isn't where we're going to be at the end of the season, so I wouldn't read too much into if we got beat. And equally, when we got beat by them last season, that wasn't the same team that finished the season, and it was much later on. It was 22nd of October or something we played them, and that game happened. I am really interested to see, and I think there's a lot of respect between Klopp and Pochettino. Yeah. I'm really interested to see what we do differently this time to what we did against them last time. And, there's nothing but playing the game out to see what's going to happen there. Tottenham are a great side, and I think they've been really smart in not adding to that squad. I think, I'm probably swimming against the tide here. But I truly believe that was probably a good move for them. If they couldn't upgrade the side, then why upset the apple cart?
I'm not sure it's a smart. The base logic of it's absolutely smart. Like anything, it's smart until you've got a mad injury crisis, and then it's a gamble, isn't it? More than anything else. But yeah, it would be. I would really like the wheels to come off Spurs. That would be a very nice thing. But from taking a positives perspective, you're right. It's not something that you judge an entire season on, but it would be a solid indicator if you can go considering how badly they turned us over last year, to be able to go there, because that's what's going to be the thing. The thing that's going to get Liverpool across the line if they want to win a title this season. You've got to replicate what you did last year, but you've got to put the cherries on top effectively. And the cherries on top are the games against your major rivals. Now, you don't need to go away from home and beat your major rivals. You need to go away from home and not get beaten by your major rivals. So, you're right, I wouldn't say we have to go out there and smash them off the park. But if you go there and you pick 3 points up, well, that's 2 points. That's 2 massive points that you've earned there, and they end up being the ones. They could be the ones that make the difference come the end of the campaign, because let's face it, they were the ones that we so catastrophically lost at times last year.
And of course, I think you've got to be almost pragmatic, and Mourinho's won titles by being pragmatic against his rivals for years and years now, hasn't he? We're in a fortunate position that Tottenham dropped points last time out. So we wouldn't probably be losing too much ground on them, even if we were to get beaten. But it's like a dagger to the heart of them if you can go there and get that 3 points, because then they're looking around the dressing room, and whether they think I'm right or not, they're going, why didn't we? Yeah. Why didn't the boss get more reinforcements in here?
It's when Jackie comes off the bench.
Look what Liverpool have done here. They've just brought these players in, and they've improved. And I don't think we can catch them now. Yeah. And that's the type of psychological blow that you can get this weekend, which probably not enough people are talking about.
Yeah, that's it. And you're right, because you want to say, you want them walking out of that ground going, God, these got to a Champions League final last year, and now we are X amount of points behind them already, and it's only...
And they're not playing that well.
Yeah, exactly. So you're dead right. And this is not. I don't think you go when you breaking the season down in the sections. I don't think you look at Spurs away as a banker in any way, shape or form. I don't think historically it's been that either. But yeah, in terms of laying a marker down, that's that message. It's not even a message to Spurs. I'm not even asked about the message to Spurs. It's a message to Manchester City. If you go away and do that, because we've been fortunate that we've been able, and because I've been able to watch a fair more football in the opening month of the season than I would normally do non-Liverpool, because there's almost every week there's been a head-to-head clash, and we've swerved all of them so far. So there's been an enjoyable game where one of our rivals, whether it's historic or genuine, have dropped points, which has been absolutely lovely. The roles are reversed. So Man City are looking at this time going, well, one of Liverpool or Spurs are going to, or one or both of Liverpool Spurs are going to drop points this week. Great. We go out there, we capitalise, and then all of a sudden things are looking back on track. That's why, again, the psychological impact is massive. The big thing I want to talk about, and obviously it's in the title of this week's podcast, I was asked this, I think there's a video going out on the Ball Street YouTube channel this week. It might not make it out because Flav's thrown this for a Tottenham fan, does the Fighting Cock, the Tottenham Hotspur podcast. I was asked about the rivalry between the clubs, and where does this idea that there's a rivalry between us and Spurs come from?
I don't know. I think if you ask both sets of fans, I'd imagine that both sets of fans are saying there isn't.
Yeah, well, I think what's happening is both sets of fans are saying it's coming from the rivalry's coming from the other side.
Yeah, which is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. There isn't a rivalry. If you ask a Tottenham fan, he'd probably go, it's not from us, type of thing. It is probably born out of being there or thereabouts with them and fighting for the same types of players for the last few years. Now, Tottenham fans will probably be in the comments right now saying, we've finished ahead of you for how many X amount of years, and yeah, fair enough, you have, but we're still a bigger club than you. Yeah. We'll always be a bigger club than you. We're better run, I think, than you now as well. Yeah. And we're just a better side than you.
Is it
just jealousy from them now?
I don't know what it is. I think the Man City fans have a bit of this as well, and I think it's because we've now got the opportunity to not just talk about our history, but we're also quite good in the present as well. So it's all relevant all of a sudden because we can tie back things and bring things.
Same with City, they can remember their entire history because it's only been a few years. And yeah. Same with Chelsea fans, you can almost remember everything.
I remember when Oasis were dead big and Georgie Kincladze played for them too. It was smashing. Franny Lee.
He was a hell of a player, Kincladze.
He was. I still have this thing where, because it was when I was doing the Champions League draw, and there's a lad Bardi who does the Fighting Cock podcast, and he was there. He heard me filming my answers, and he come out and went, "It's because you're scared of us," and I was like, "I'm really not." This is honest, right? Whenever the other day, it was not long after, and I was writing down the teams in the top six to do our next agenda or whatever.
Do you always forget them?
And I'm like, I'm missing a team. Whenever I'm missing a team, when I'm trying to write down the top six, it is always Tottenham Hotspur. Look, and again, we're talking about them now, but we're playing them at the weekend. It's mad. I see it online, because I see it was the Fighting Cock podcast put a tweet out not too long ago. It was like, calling Liverpool a myth or something because Spurs have finished and it had the league table positions over the last 8 years or whatever. I do feel as though it's genuine. I'm sure they deny it. It does feel as though they're trying to create a rival with me. And maybe that's it. I just don't see them. And maybe it's good. It's like when you wave at you think someone's waving at you or someone's looking at you and you perk up and they're not. They're actually looking at someone behind. This is the most cripplingly embarrassing thing ever. I think that's what Tottenham are. I think they see Liverpool looking over at them and they're like, "Go on then, you're up for it," and then we walk over and they square up and we walk straight past and walk over to have a conversation with Man City instead, and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah."
You know what it probably is. We were probably seen as the low hanging fruit in the top four battle. You know what I mean? And for all it was until they overtook us, they were probably looking at it going, we need to get ahead of them. We need to get ahead of them. They got ahead of us. And they thought that we'd be asked about it. We weren't asked about them per se. We were asked because we were crap, for those few years and stuff like that. And it's like, now it's like, well, we're back. And yous aren't winning anything either. We're both playing really good football. We're not meeting yous in semi-finals of competitions like we did when that rivalry was forged with Chelsea in the mid-noughties. We're not meeting you in competitions. Now, if we start to meet you in finals and semi-finals and things, there will be a genuine rivalry. We just play you twice a year at the moment, Absolutely. Like every other team in the league.
That's it. Like, as much as I see City fans who would do claw on this, talking about Liverpool and the atmosphere and talking negatively about Liverpool and what have you, I think there's a sense of bitterness that came out of the rivalry, of course. But you're dead right. how can we have a rivalry with Spurs? They're just a team that they're just one of the teams. They're one of the 19 teams that we play in the league twice a season. And yes, there's been a spell in recent years where they finished above us, but lots of teams finished above us. We've been shit for a lot of this time. We've gone through the most barren run in Liverpool's 125-year history. It was inevitable that someone else was going to capitalise on us falling out of the top four. But you're dead right, like Man City, I get it to some extent. There's a bit of the Manchester thing, of course. There's the fact
played
that
them in the Carling Cup final.
Yeah, we played them in the League Cup final in 13-14. We had them. We ran it close for the Premier League title. We met them in the Champions League last season. Yeah. That's enough for a not a proper rivalry, not like the way we have a rivalry with Man United, but at least enough for a rivalry that we had with Chelsea. A modern rivalry kind of thing. But yeah, and maybe it'll come with Spurs, but I just don't get it. I think they're fine. They're just fine, aren't they? Yeah. Anyway, we'll see how the game gets on. We'll know more. Before we move on, I'm going to take some questions from you guys. We got a few on Twitter, we got some on Facebook, and we got a load from our subscribers as well. So we do an extended version, carrying on this podcast, where we take a load more questions. A lot of them come from the people who subscribe to the redmentv.com. That video goes on there. But we take a few from you guys. So obviously, if you're not a subscriber, it gives you a nice incentive to come over and listen to our wonderful answers to some absolute random bollocks. But before we get over there, one thing that is on the website at the moment, my good man right there, Chris Pajak, spoke to the Mirror's Dave Maddock last week in the Newsroom podcast. Here's a little clip.
You can tell that they're not firing yet. I mean, and that's that. You watch them and you think, yeah, well, Salah's not quite firing, Firmino's not quite firing, the midfield, the interchange's not quite firing, Keita's not quite there yet, clearly because he's fitting in. And so I spoke to Klopp about that, and he basically said that of course they're not, because they're essentially doing a pre-season during the season. So they're doing all the hard pre-season training during the week and then playing a game at the weekend. And when you do that in pre-season, the game at the weekend, if you like, is a game where you can change the whole team at half-time. Mm-hmm. You play 45 minutes. You can't do that in the Premier League. So, yeah, they're looking a bit leggy at times. And you could see it. I think particularly against Brighton, actually, was the one where you could see it. And Klopp, to be fair, he's not saying it's just Liverpool. He said City are the same, and he did say that. And you can see in the performances they don't quite have that absolute spark that they had at their peak last season. Liverpool don't either. And it's because obviously the World Cup, most of the players didn't come back until maybe 2 weeks before the start of the season, and they've not really had a pre-season. What he did say is it normally takes about 6 weeks, and of course after the international break, that will be that period. So he thinks all of the players, apart from maybe Lovren, who couldn't train because of his injury, they should all be at a much higher level. And he said the stats show that they're beginning to get back to the level of last season. And obviously Liverpool do a lot of their work based on the stats now. And they can see that Liverpool are beginning to get back, but it's not quite there yet.
You know what, the level of that podcast, Chris, I mean, it started off as something you were doing a lot via Skype, getting something going and having these conversations with journalists, and a lot of it was around the transfer window and what have you. But like the guests that you're getting in, we're getting just brilliant people. You got to speak to David Anderson the week before, wasn't it? Yeah. And obviously
Rob Gutman the week before that as well from the Anfield Wrap. And I love the format of that show because so often it's us giving our opinions on things, but to get somebody else's opinion on something, it's really invaluable. Not only does it broaden your knowledge, but it can hopefully broaden the viewers' knowledge as well. Like, you just have to look at the comments on that show on the website, and people are just like, best guest you've had on there. He's truly, you can just tell he lives and breathes it, and he understands it. He doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. He's a proper journalist, but with well-rounded views, and I respect him so much. It was such an enjoyable show to do.
Yeah, brilliant. So if you want to check that out, it's free for the first month, so get over to the redmentv.com, start your 3-month trial. You've probably all seen it by now, but if you still want to check it out, it's still there. The Jurgen Klopp interviews there. Last year, we got to go all the way over to Rome to speak to Lucas Leiva. That's on there. There's just brilliant stuff, show after show, tons of extra content. So if you think that the YouTube stuff is just not sating your need for amazing Liverpool content, then we have got you covered a big time there, so go and check it out. Questions then. A late edition, I've actually written this on my agenda here. So I apologize, Chris, I'm going to throw this at you blind, so to speak. Robbie the Red said, if you owned LFC, what would be the first new policy you introduced?
No Carlsberg.
Wow. That was...
It's been doing my head in for years. Put some nice beer on.
You do have San Miguel?
Yeah, it's in a tin, innit?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get some nice beer. Get me an Australia or something like
fair,
on draft.
It's all crap in plastic anyway, isn't it?
This is true also, but terrible.
Terrible Carlsberg is a terrible beer. Like, unless they wish to sponsor the podcast, in which case I'm sure I could
get down the co-op and order yourself some Carlsberg.
To count some into a glass and swap it for something that doesn't taste like urine. That's a pretty solid policy, Chris. I don't think I can top that one. Great. I'd have gone with something like force the safe standing issue. But there you go. Let's get rid of Carlsberg. Listen, attainable goals. It's a legal thing. Legally we can change Carlsberg. They've been long-term supporters of Liverpool Football Club. Yeah. Good looking sponsor.
Yeah.
Mainly because it looked a lot like it looked like a natural evolution of the candy one, didn't it? Okay, great. Almost average. Oh,
that's what their beer is. There's the new slogan.
There you go.
Almost average.
It's probably almost average. At almost average. What would be your LFC Quidditch team? I had to put this to you. Now you've tried to soft bat this a touch. I think you asked Si for help, like you didn't know what the roles in a Quidditch team were. You are a massive Harry Potter fan.
Of course I am, but I've forgotten. You know what I mean? I've forgotten loads.
Si, as it turns out, knows a lot about Harry Potter.
Honestly, I was like, well, you asked me, and Si was just stood behind the camera over there, and he didn't say anything, and he heard me fumbling around, and he went, seeker, beater, keeper, chaser, and we sort of looked up, and we're like, didn't expect this from you, Si, and then had a little conversation. What did they all do? And he's like, the seeker is the one, the Harry Potter role. The beater plays with the bludgeons or something like that. The keeper's obviously the keeper, and the chaser and the chaser.
Stop doing with that bludgeon.
Give us one of them chicken fajitas. Them chicken fajitas.
The Scouse
I know what a chicken fajita is. I can order it as a chicken fajita.
If something isn't basically ready salted, like in a crisp, you've got to say them Doritos, like
them flame grilled ones,
them mad things you've got there that aren't,
but I'm willing to give it a go, like
them beaters and them bludgeons.
So
then
he was like, he told us all about it, and then I was like, well, how many of each? And he's like, 1 seeker, 2 beaters, 1 keeper, 3 chasers. We were like, go ahead, yes. And he's like, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely. So, with those parameters in place,
seeker, the one who gets the golden snitch.
Is that the Harry Potter?
That's the Harry Potter. Andy Robertson.
Ooh. Not like a Mohamed Salah?
No, okay. Andy Robbo.
Okay.
I mean, he literally will seek a ball out and chase it everywhere
from
on
left
pitch.
back to the opposition left back.
Exactly. Beater, these are the guys, the bludgeons. They're called bludgeons. So they're the big things that they hit away that are going for our other players. So these are the protectors, almost the bodyguards, I suppose. Virgil van Dijk. Mm-hmm. And I want his power, and I want Naby Keita for his technical ability.
Okay.
And his power and aggressiveness in the challenge as well. The keeper, I think, is just going to be Alisson, because I didn't put any thought into it, to be honest with you. Might have another answer.
Was Ron a keeper?
I think
he was a failed keeper.
Yeah.
He was a failed keeper, thanks.
Yeah. He said that with a lot of disdain in his voice there, if you could hear that. I'm not sure. Shit.
He really let us down. Cost us the Quidditch World Cup, he did.
Are you kidding me? Like
I
had 50-1 on Ron to make a save there in the Quidditch betting app.
Sad.
I mean, 3 chases. I'm not messing around there. It's Firmino, Salah and Mane. They're the lads who are trying to get the whatever ball into the back of the whatever net.
Bang into
if there
it.
is a net.
Bang into it. I'm very aware that this is a bit of a Marmite question. There's probably a lot of people just going.
We haven't talked about Harry Potter on the podcast for a long time.
It's been a while. We used to be a random Harry Potter reference per week. So there you go. Hopefully that kicks it off. Or if you really hated that,
that'll be the end of it. We'll never do it again.
That'll be the end of that. Stefan Spall I hear a lot of people talking about Milner leaving at the end of this year. I can
This
see...
is like water cooler chat.
Yeah,
Or is
over, like over here.
They're talking about Milner over there.
It's Milner leaving, going, needs to move to another club, contract situation. I've not heard anyone talking about this, so but
I once heard someone when I was walking down the street. In fact, I think
singing "Do What Did He?"
No, don't go there. Okay. I once heard someone say, he ran himself over chasing a jack of potato, and I think
it's not how Anton Yelchin died, is that?
No, so me and Aubrey were in Glastonbury. Actually, it was when we heard this conversation, and 10 years later we met Tom, and we were on the drive home from here, funnily enough, and we happened to mention this. Aren't those funny, those random conversations where you just hear a snippet of it, and he's like, oh yeah, that's the guy from East 17. He ran himself over as a potato fell out of his car or something, and we were like, mystery solved. Brilliant. 10 years in the making.
Fantastic.
It was solved.
I think it was a brilliant. Yeah, but oh yeah, now that you say it, yeah. Anyway, James Milner. Stefan thinks he's our best midfielder. Was best midfielder end of last year and started this one. I think we should absolutely keep him if we can. Your guys' thoughts? I agree with this. I think we've reached a point in modern football where everyone assumes that you've got to get sold, or you've got to get released, or you've got to reach a point where blah blah blah. If James Milner is happy to play a staggered, diminished role for Liverpool, because there will come a point, and it's not today, where he's not able to play every game, or maybe his ability wise, maybe we upgrade beyond him. But this squad is never going to be worse for having James Milner in and around it. So for me, if you say you've got 3 years left in your career,
yeah,
I'd have him.
I think we're in a really interesting time to be football fans at the moment, and it's always interesting, of course, but because of the explosion in sports science, we're only really seeing people who have done the right things throughout their entire career just now coming to the end of their careers. Yeah. And I think from a fan's point of view, we still have the expectations of you come into the side 20, 21, 22, and you hit your peak at 27 and you're done by 32. That's actually quite a dinosaur's way of looking at it. It's not going to be like that forever. As people look after themselves more and more from age 10, let's say, all the way through when they're with a football club and they're eating right and they're training right and all that type of stuff, we're going to see people have longer and longer careers. And I think what it comes down to at this stage of James Milner's career is whether he is going to be happy playing that bit part role like you talked about. Now, Andres Iniesta, for example, wouldn't have been happy playing at a diminished role in Barcelona, but still thinks he can carry on with his career. Yeah. So he went and left that football club. Whereas I think every probably Barca fan would rather have played a diminished role at 100% of his talent for the next 2 years or something. But that comes down to personality. And I think James Milner accepted a long time ago that he could be a squad player for much longer. I think you just have to look at his time at Manchester City. He left there because he felt like he could give more. Whereas I think at Liverpool, I wonder whether with a few more years under his belt, you'd be looking at going, I could really achieve some great things at the back end of my career here. But it comes down to the type of person you are.
It depends on the offers on the table. To be fair, it'll come down to him. Here's a situation. Leeds under Bielsa get into the Premier League, and they go, right, James Milner.
Here's the Leeds career with us,
well, exactly. Here's the Leeds captain's armband. Come and have the last 2 years of your career back at your hometown club or whatever.
Gerrard's talked about it as well, hasn't he? How he would rather, looking back now, just ended his career at Liverpool playing a slightly different role.
Yeah.
But at the time, couldn't see past not being first choice all the time.
Yeah, funny. It is funny. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy whose ego would get in the way like that. No. So, yeah, it's an interesting one.
And he's absolutely good enough to keep around for the next couple of years.
Yeah. Adam Ray, who's one of our subscribers on the website, asks if you could swap any 3 Premier League teams with European teams, who would they be? Who would you swap them with and why?
First one that came into my head was Man United. Just get rid of them.
Okay.
So then we're the most, we've won the most honours in English football once again. First and foremost, simple. And where am I putting them? Probably Dortmund I'm swapping them with. A, I think, I'd like to see Dortmund twice a year. I'd like to go over to that stadium. But B, they'd forever be a Munich shadow, and that would be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be, and well, just being, they face it, but they'd probably win still win loads of titles.
Yeah, 1 in 10.
Yeah, you'd slow Munich
Bayern
down a bit as well.
But Bayern Munich would just nick all of their players.
That'd be class.
It'd be great.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
So I've gone a bit more top line on this without without going into specifics, but I would take the 3 teams. Like it's slightly convoluted by the fact that Stoke aren't in the Premier League anymore, but I would take the 3 teams that Liverpool who are just the most horrible. So in years gone by, it would have been Stoke, West Brom, anyone managed
Bolton,
by Sam Allardyce, and I would replace them with 3 absolutely middle of the road La Liga teams. Take your pick, because they're all crap. They all want to play a nice passing brand of football, and they're all used to turning up against the big boys, bending over and getting smacked everywhere. So I'd be happy to change the status quo a little bit in there. Get rid of any team that plays the football in the dogs of war English style, and get some just really get a Getafe in there.
Oh, nice.
And a Rayo Vallecano and a whatever, and that would be absolutely splendid.
So my second one was, and I've changed the rules slightly because I always change the rules on one of the questions. I'm getting rid of Chelsea, but I'm swapping them with Barca B so they can't get promoted. So they take the rules from Barca B because they can't go into the top league.
So Chelsea can only ever play in the second division. That's really good.
And then thirdly, I'm swapping City with Bilbao, but City now can't get players from outside the region.
Greater Manchester.
Yeah, exactly. So for all the fucking money in the world, matters not.
You take the Basque rule and brilliant. Okay, that's great. Yeah, brilliant. I think that wins without a doubt. One final question. Again, Kieran KA, who's another one of our website subscribers, says, which Liverpool player mispronunciation annoys you the most? Mine is either Firmino or when people say Keita like later, or I should whenever people say Keita correctly.
Yeah, I don't know. So the Keita one doesn't really annoy me too much, mainly because I say it 3 different ways myself. Keita. Kiata. Firmino does really peck me head.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, we had Coutinho. Yes, he had a H in his name. No, his name is not a mix of the 2 names put together. And Mingale, Aubrey, Reynolds.
Yeah.
And how we've got another person in here that says Mingale as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ross
says Mingale.
Ross says Mingale.
Does he do it tongue in cheek?
No.
Maybe that's just
no, he doesn't. No.
Ross!
So the first word of the podcast, dissing Ross, and the final portion of the podcast is dissing Ross.
I don't know why it came back to me the other day, but you know what it was? I found out that John Motson's not retired from commentary. He's commentating on TalkSport, and I remembered that his pronunciations on things, he used to do some mad stuff on Match Today, and there was a mate of mine growing up who used to call Julian Joachim Julian Joachim, and it used to do my head in.
Was it Aubrey? Because I think he did the same as well.
It might have been by proxy, but it was I never told you a mate of mine called Sam Collins, and because he knew it wound me up, he steadfastly stuck to his guns because he'd heard it once on Match Today said like that, and it's like, it's not how you say his name. Yeah, the Firmino thing absolutely drives me.
Hoopier used to do me.
I don't like. I do Hippier. I know Hoopier. Hoopier was what I used to. Sammy Hoopier.
Yeah, I didn't like that one. I just like
Hippier. It was just a bit like just the PR Scouse way of saying it, wasn't it? Like, perfect. Yeah. Actually, it's Smeacher. I'm not having Smeacher, and yet apparently it's fine. I got corrected by Stephen Gerrard that it's Smeacher. I'm sorry, it's not. It's Smeacher. Yeah. It always has been, and it always will be. Smeacher, innit? No, Stevie. No, but I'd never say that to your face because really intimidated. Great, thanks for that, Chris. We've got loads more questions coming up on the subscriber Q&A this week. What is the best non-Liverpool and non-England game that you've seen? Why are United fans so obsessed with us? Because apparently there's an Alisson sex tape doing the rounds. Chris is going to be reacting to that live. Todd Bell.
If it's real, I'm surprised I've not seen it.
Yeah. What our perfect takeaway is, go ahead. Best Liverpool band that isn't the Beatles, and advice on going to university for people who are about to go from us, by the way. Get over to redmentv.com, sign up for that. Thank you very much, Chris. This has been an absolute pleasure. Drop a like on this if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel. Do that right now, and we will see it all and listen to. You can listen to us. Damn it! Get that
so
wrong.
Close.
So close.
Blame Ross.
Walk on. Damn.